There's a conversation not many people are having, but it's one that holds incredible power for those on the path. What really happens when a chosen one stops having sex? Not out of shame, fear, or suppression, but as a sacred choice, a spiritual decision. For centuries, mystics, prophets, and awakened souls have walked this path. They weren't denying life, they were redirecting it. They understood something most people don't. Sexual energy isn't just physical, it's spiritual currency. And when you stop spending it on momentary pleasure, you start investing it in purpose, in clarity, in connection with something far greater than the physical world. Let's be real, this isn't an easy path. In a world saturated with distraction, hypersexuality, and instant gratification, choosing celibacy is a radical act of self-mastery. But for the chosen ones, the spiritually sensitive, the visionaries, the light-bearers, this path is a key to unlocking levels of power, focus, and divine alignment that most people will never access. So the question isn't what do you lose when you stop having sex? The real question is what do you gain? In this video, we're diving deep. We're going beyond the surface, beyond the dogma, beyond the shame. We're exploring the truth, what really happens to your mind, body, and soul when you make the intentional decision to retain your life force energy. Ancient wisdom, modern science, real spiritual transformation. Because this journey isn't about deprivation, it's about activation. And for the chosen ones, this might just be the most powerful decision you'll ever make. If you're ready to reclaim your power and rise above the noise, drop a 777 in the comments. Let's light up this space with divine energy. Number 1, the hidden power in you. Let's talk about something most people completely overlook. The raw, untapped power that lives inside you. Sexual energy isn't just about physical intimacy or desire. It's your life force. It's the same energy that creates life, fuels your creativity, powers your ambition, and opens spiritual gateways. In ancient spiritual systems around the world, whether it's called Kundalini in yogic traditions, Qi in Chinese philosophy, or simply life force, this energy is sacred. It's primal, powerful, and deeply connected to who you are at your core. And for the chosen ones, it's more than just biology. It's a key to spiritual awakening, higher consciousness, and divine purpose. You see, most of the world has been conditioned to burn through this energy carelessly, scrolling, chasing, craving. But when you pause, when you retain that force instead of constantly releasing it, something incredible begins to happen. You stop leaking power and start building it. Imagine having a spiritual battery inside you that's always charging instead of draining. That's what happens when you begin to take control of your sexual energy. It's not about denying your humanity, it's about refining your frequency. This energy, when left unchecked, tends to scatter. It fuels distractions, addictions, short-lived highs. But when it's contained and redirected, it becomes fuel for manifestation, vision, healing, and profound transformation. Ancient wisdom teaches this, not to shame us, but to awaken us. Texts from Tantra, Taoism, and sacred yogic science all point to the same truth. When you stop spending your energy outwardly and begin transmuting it inwardly, you step into the deeper layers of your soul. This isn't abstract. You can feel the shift. Your thoughts get clearer. Your creative spark reignites. You start to move differently in the world. More grounded, more magnetic, more connected. And for chosen ones, this is especially important because your energy is sensitive, powerful, and deeply spiritual. When you start transmuting instead of releasing, you're not just changing your habits, you're activating your divine potential. That's why this path is so rare and so misunderstood. Because most people see it as restriction. But chosen ones, we know it's actually resurrection. A reawakening of who you truly are underneath all the noise. Number 2, mind shift. How energy transmutation works. Now let's talk about the shift, the mental rewiring, that happens when you stop seeing sex as just a physical act and start recognizing it as a gateway for transformation. This is where things get deep. When a chosen one chooses celibacy, it's not about ignoring desire, it's about elevating it. This is what's known as sexual transmutation. It's the ancient and yet timeless practice of converting raw sexual energy into something higher. Creativity, focus, spiritual power, divine insight. And it's not just an idea, it's a lived experience. When you stop releasing your life force aimlessly, you start channeling it into your soul's actual work. Think about this. Napoleon Hill, in his classic book Think and Grow Rich, talked about how the most successful people didn't suppress their sexual energy, they redirected it. He called it one of the most powerful forces behind genius, ambition, and mastery. And he wasn't wrong. This energy is electric, can create life, so imagine what else it can create when directed with purpose. The moment you make the conscious choice to retain that power, you start building spiritual momentum. Your mind becomes sharper, your ideas hit harder, your creativity flows stronger. Why? Because you're no longer wasting that sacred force, you're investing it. This is a huge mind shift, especially in a culture that tells you to chase pleasure at every turn. But when you choose stillness over stimulation, you activate a whole new level of self-awareness. You start to see what most people miss, that your energy is currency. You can spend it on momentary highs, or you can invest it in something timeless. And for chosen ones, that something is your purpose, your mission, your calling, your divine impact in this world. This isn't about denying your desire. It's about mastering it. Transmutation doesn't mean pretending you don't feel. It means you redirect what you feel into something that builds your legacy, not drains your spirit. The more you commit to this path, the more you notice how different you feel. Things that once pulled you in lust, temptation, distractions, they start to lose their grip. Not because you've become numb, but because you've become aware. You're not running from the physical, you're rising into the spiritual. Your energy shifts, your frequency changes, your focus sharpens. That's the power of transmutation. You're no longer ruled by your impulses. You're led by your vision. And this is where true spiritual authority begins, for the chosen ones willing to walk this path with clarity and intention. Number 3, Carl Jung, psychology and soul integration. Let's bring in the psychology, because this isn't just a spiritual concept, it's also deeply connected to how your inner world operates. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in modern psychology, had a powerful understanding of what we now call energy transmutation. He believed that sexual energy, what he referred to as the libido, was not just about sex. It was much broader. To Jung, this energy was a core life force that could be redirected to fuel creativity, spiritual growth, and self-realization. He wasn't talking about repression. He was talking about redirection. And that distinction is everything. Jung believed that when we choose not to act on every desire, especially powerful ones like sexual urges, we create space for something deeper to emerge. He wrote, "What you resist not only persists, but grows stronger." That doesn't mean you give in, it means you become conscious of the urge and then elevate it. For chosen ones, this is sacred alchemy. Instead of suppressing the energy, you allow it to evolve. You convert it into vision, into inner strength, into soul alignment. This is where the journey of individuation comes in, Jung's term for becoming your most authentic, whole self. For chosen ones, individuation is more than self-discovery. The soul remembrance. It's when your ego stops fighting your purpose and starts serving it. The ego no longer dominates, but instead integrates with your spirit. You stop being ruled by cravings, and you start living from your core. This is the essence of why transmuting sexual energy is so powerful. It brings your fragmented self back into divine alignment. Mind, body, and soul begin to move in the same direction. You start showing up differently. You think with more clarity, feel with more depth, and move with more intention. Your intuition strengthens, your presence deepens, and your energy becomes magnetic. Not because you're trying to be anything, but because you've become someone who's whole. When a chosen one stops letting sexual urges dictate their path, and instead uses that energy to fuel their soul's evolution, they become unstoppable. It's not about resistance, it's about refinement. You're not fighting yourself, you're reclaiming yourself. And in that reclamation, you begin to embody your divine potential. Number 4, spiritual depth through celibacy. Throughout history, the greatest spiritual masters, from Jesus to the Buddha, from yogis in Himalayan caves to monks in silent monasteries, have all echoed a similar truth. There is immense spiritual depth available through celibacy. But here's the thing, this isn't about shame, repression, or guilt. It's not about seeing the body or sexuality as bad. No, this is about choosing something higher. It's about understanding that your sexual energy is sacred. And when you conserve it, you don't become less alive, you become more awake. When a chosen one practices celibacy, it isn't about becoming numb to desire. It's about becoming so aware of that desire that you refuse to let it control you. Instead of chasing temporary pleasure, you begin to build lasting inner power. This is the power the ancients spoke of, the kind that sharpens your intuition, that deepens your connection to the divine, that clears the static and lets you actually hear the voice of your soul. When you're not distracted by physical cravings, your inner world becomes louder, clearer, and more aligned. In Taoist teachings, this process is beautifully illustrated. They talk about transforming Jing, the essence of life, into Shen, the spirit. That's the journey of celibacy. You take the raw, physical energy and refine it into spiritual clarity. You move from instinct to insight, from desire to divine direction. This transformation doesn't just happen in theory, it shows up in your life. You start seeing through illusions. You feel more connected to source energy. Your meditations go deeper. Your dreams become more vivid. You're no longer just thinking spiritually, you're living spiritually. And that's the point. Celibacy for chosen ones isn't about punishment, it's about purification. Not in a moral sense, but in an energetic one. Every time you say no to fleeting pleasure, you're saying yes to your higher self. You're saying yes to your mission. You're reserving the most powerful energy in your body and letting it rise, letting it transform you. That's not weakness. That's spiritual strength. That's sacred rebellion. And in a world that encourages indulgence at every turn, your decision to hold your energy is radical. It's revolutionary, and it's one of the clearest signs that you are truly awakening to who you were born to be. Number 5, beyond physical desires. At its core, the path of the chosen one isn't about denying life. It's about rising above the illusions that keep most people stuck in survival mode. One of the biggest illusions, that our physical desires are the highest form of fulfillment. The truth is, physical pleasure can be beautiful, but when it becomes the main focus, it starts to cloud your vision, drown out your intuition, and keep you tethered to the surface of life. For chosen ones, the mission is much deeper. You didn't come here just to exist, you came here to elevate. And that requires seeing beyond the pull of the body and into the truth of the soul. Sexual desire, while natural, is one of the strongest forces tying the spirit to the physical world. It's rooted in instinct, in chemistry, in repetition. And without awareness, it can become a loop, a cycle of temporary highs followed by emotional or energetic drain. But when a chosen one begins to step back and observe that cycle, something shifts. You realize that your energy doesn't have to be consumed by desire. It can be guided by intention. You realize that desire isn't the enemy. It's the teacher. And when you stop reacting to it, you start evolving through it. Philosopher Alan Watts once said, "We are not born into the world, we are born out of it." Meaning we're not separate from the divine, we are the divine expressing itself through form. You are not just a body with a soul, you are a soul having a human experience. And when you choose to step away from physical attachments, even temporarily, you begin to reconnect with that original essence. The noise fades, the distractions soften, the deeper truths emerge. When you begin to transcend physical desire, not suppress but transcend, you unlock access to parts of yourself that have been dormant. You begin hearing the whispers of your higher self. You start remembering who you are beyond the body, beyond the ego, beyond the cravings. This is where spiritual clarity is born, where divine wisdom flows, where your connection to source strengthens. Because your energy is no longer scattered, it's centered, focused, available. And with that focus, you're able to walk in alignment, speak from truth, and serve from a place of spiritual power that isn't shaken by the ups and downs of the material world. For chosen ones, this isn't just self-control. It's self-liberation. You free yourself from the grip of the physical so that you can move fully in your purpose. That's the gift of this path. That's the reason it's sacred. And that's why so few can walk it, but those who do shine from a deeper light. Number 6. The science is catching up. For a long time, the conversation around celibacy and energy retention was limited to spiritual circles, passed down in sacred texts, whispered in monasteries, guarded by mystics. But now, science is finally starting to catch up. The very things that sages and seers taught thousands of years ago are now being studied, measured, and confirmed by modern research. It's no longer just ancient wisdom, it's observable truth. And that validation matters, especially in a world that often dismisses spirituality unless it comes with data. What's becoming clear is this: retaining your sexual energy isn't just good for your spirit. It changes your brain, your body, and your entire field of consciousness. Neurologists have found that when individuals practice abstinence, even for short periods, it leads to measurable increases in dopamine and serotonin, the brain's natural feel-good chemicals. These are the very neurotransmitters that impact your mood, focus, and motivation. In simple terms, when you stop draining your life force through constant sexual release, your mind becomes clearer, your emotional balance improves, and your drive increases. And that's just the beginning. There's growing evidence that energy retention enhances cognitive performance, supports deeper sleep, and even boosts your immune function. This isn't mystical exaggeration, it's biological reality. What's even more powerful is how this translates to your energy field, your aura. Science may not fully understand or define the aura yet, but quantum physics has confirmed that the human body emits electromagnetic frequencies. When you conserve your life force, that energetic signal becomes stronger, more coherent, more radiant. You don't just feel more alive, you are more alive. People start noticing your presence without knowing why. You walk into a room and shift the atmosphere. That's not ego, that's energy. That's the magnetic field of someone who's holding power rather than leaking it. And here's the part science is only beginning to touch: the connection between sexual energy and creativity. The ancient mystics knew it all along. Sexual energy and creative energy are one and the same. When you stop expressing it physically, it starts rising. It moves upward, not outward. It begins to activate your higher centers, your mind, your intuition, your spirit. That's why artists, inventors, and spiritual teachers often tapped into periods of celibacy. Not because they were anti-sex, but because they understood how to harness that energy for something greater. For chosen ones, this is confirmation. What you felt intuitively all along, that holding your energy sharpens your vision, amplifies your focus, and elevates your consciousness, isn't just spiritual theory. It's being proven. And as this ancient wisdom and modern science continue to align, one thing becomes undeniably clear. This path isn't just spiritual, it's powerful, it's intelligent, it's transformative on every level. Number 7, what actually happens, the 5 real changes. So by now, you might be wondering what really happens when a chosen one stops having sex. Like what actually shifts in your life, your energy, your purpose. Let's get into it, because this isn't just philosophy or theory. These are the tangible, real-world shifts that happen when you reclaim your sexual energy and redirect it with intention. There are 5 core transformations, and each one builds on the next. These changes don't just affect your spiritual path. They touch every part of your being. First, energy transmutation. This is the foundation. When you stop releasing your sexual energy physically, it doesn't disappear. It transforms. That raw, primal force gets rerouted into your mind, your focus, your creative fire. It fuels your passions, your spiritual disciplines, your divine work. You may find yourself suddenly writing more, creating more, receiving inspired downloads during meditation, or taking bolder action toward your purpose. You're literally reprogramming where your power goes, and when it stops leaving your body, it starts building your destiny. Second, heightened intuition and awareness. Without the constant pull of lust or the energetic entanglements that come from sexual relationships, your inner world becomes clearer. Your mind quiets, your heart opens, and your connection to your higher self deepens. Many chosen ones report vivid dreams, spiritual visions, synchronicities, and sudden knowing that feels like divine guidance. Why? Because when you stop being pulled outward, you start tuning inward. The voice of the soul is always speaking, It's just easier to hear when the noise dies down. Third, the strengthening of your aura and energetic field. Sexual energy exchange is real. It's not just physical, it's energetic. Every intimate connection you make creates a cord, a tie, a blending of energies. And for chosen ones with sensitive spiritual systems, this can blur your frequency. But when you choose celibacy, your energy begins to purify. Your aura clears. Your spiritual boundaries strengthen. You stop absorbing other people's unresolved energies, and you begin radiating from your own truth again. You're no longer tangled, you're tuned in. Fourth, a deeper connection to your purpose. When your energy isn't leaking out through casual sex or emotional attachments, it turns inward, and that's when your mission becomes clearer. You begin to feel drawn toward specific actions, people, or messages that align with your calling. You start making decisions based on divine alignment instead of emotional impulse. And doors open, ideas flow, opportunities appear, synchronicities line up. You're not just living anymore, you're being led. That's what happens when your energy starts flowing vertically, from your root to your crown instead of horizontally into the world. Fifth, undeniable physical benefits. Yes, this path is spiritual, but your body feels it too. Many chosen ones report increased stamina, a glow in their skin, sharper eyes, more vitality, and even slowed aging. Your body is no longer in a cycle of depletion. Your hormones begin to balance. Your immune system strengthens, and you carry yourself with a presence that's hard to define but impossible to ignore. It's the physical reflection of spiritual wholeness. You don't need to prove anything. You are the proof. These 5 changes are just the beginning. When you walk this path, you begin to realize that celibacy isn't about what you give up. It's about what you awaken. And each shift brings you closer to the version of yourself that is grounded, powerful, radiant, and fully aligned with your divine assignment. For chosen ones, this is what it means to rise. Number 8. The challenge is real, but so are the rewards. Let's be real, this path isn't easy. Choosing celibacy, especially in a world that constantly glorifies indulgence, can feel like swimming against the current. You're going to feel the pull. You'll have moments where you question everything. The urges might come back louder, especially in the beginning, because you're no longer numbing or feeding them. You're sitting with them, observing them, transforming them. And that takes strength. That takes awareness. Most of all, that takes a deep, unshakable reason. Without purpose, this path can feel like pressure. But with purpose, it becomes power. You'll probably face misunderstanding too. People around you may not get it. They'll say it's unnatural, unnecessary, or even extreme. But that's because they don't understand the mission. They don't feel the call you feel. You're not walking this path for approval. You're walking it because your soul knows there's something greater waiting on the other side of discipline. Every chosen one who's stepped into this journey has had to confront themselves. You meet your impulses, your ego, your old patterns. You feel them rise, and you learn to rise higher. But here's the beautiful part. The more you stick with it, the more you begin to feel the shift. The struggle begins to turn into strength. What once felt like lack now feels like liberation. You're no longer trapped in the same cycles that used to rule you. You're not chasing validation or energy exchanges that leave you empty. You start holding your energy, owning it, and people feel that. Your energy becomes pure, grounded, magnetic. You become a sanctuary, not just for yourself, but for others who are seeking truth, clarity, and healing. And let's talk about the rewards because they're real. You begin to operate on a different frequency. Ideas come faster. Your meditations go deeper. You speak with more power, more authority, more resonance. Your creative gifts unlock. Your spiritual gifts expand. And most importantly, you begin to feel like yourself, your true self, the one underneath all the noise, the one who remembers why you came here. You feel rooted in your mission. You stop bending to every emotional wave. You start moving with divine timing, divine confidence, divine protection. This journey of celibacy isn't a punishment. It's a purification. It's a clearing of everything that distracts, so that what's sacred in you can finally lead. Yes, there will be temptation. Yes, there will be tests. But every moment you choose alignment over impulse, you reclaim more of your soul. And every time you do, the universe responds. The divine responds. Doors open, clarity arrives, strength multiplies. This isn't about perfection. This is about presence. And for the chosen ones, presence is the gateway to power. So what really happens when a chosen one stops having sex? Let's answer it clearly, without fear, without hesitation. You don't lose. You ascend. You don't shrink, you expand. You don't suppress your desires. You refine them into purpose, clarity, and unstoppable momentum. This isn't the end of your power. It's the beginning of your mastery. Every ounce of energy you conserve becomes fuel for your mission. Every moment you say no to distractions, you say yes to your destiny. And that's not weakness. That's strength most people will never understand. This is not about becoming less human. It's about becoming more divine. It's about stepping into the sacred version of yourself that this world desperately needs right now. While everyone else is being pulled by the tides of temptation and instant gratification, you're choosing a higher vibration. You're walking with intention. You're building something eternal. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes you chosen. Not because you're better, but because you've answered a deeper call. A spiritual call. A soul contract that's finally being fulfilled. And yes, this path is sacred, but it's also practical. You begin to see real change, real elevation. Your creativity flows effortlessly. Your energy becomes magnetic. Your intuition sharpens like a blade. Your spirit speaks louder, and your connection to the divine becomes unshakable. You move differently. You love differently. You serve differently, because you're no longer led by impulse. You're led by truth. You're not just on the path, you are the path. And others will follow the light you carry. To all the chosen ones walking this journey, stay the course. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. You were never meant to be average. You were never meant to blend in. You're here to awaken, to activate, to ascend, and to show others that it's possible. In a world consumed by chaos, your discipline becomes a beacon. Your clarity becomes a weapon. Your energy becomes a force of transformation. This isn't just about sex. It's about soul sovereignty. And when you reclaim that, nothing can stop you. So if this message spoke to you, share it. Let another chosen one feel seen. Like the video, subscribe for more content like this, and remember, you're not walking this path alone. We're rising together, in purpose, in power, in peace. And it all starts with one decision: to stop giving your power away and start living from it. You don't lose, you ascend, and your light is only getting started.